Well, hey, folks, is midlife a crisis thing? Do you have to struggle with it? Do we have to struggle with it? What would aging gracefully look like? That's what we're going to find out today on Living with Favor. So grab your coffee. It's time for Living with Favor, where we talk about faith, abundance, vitality, overflow, and relationships. I am your host, Lisa Mosby, and it's an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for tuning in so that we can share a bit of advice. My guest today is a retired nurse, certified aromatherapist, wife, and mom who's passionate about inspiring women over the age of 40 to feel valued and loved. She shares encouragement and stories each week through her Midlife with Courage podcast. And I want to welcome Miss Kim Benoy, actually Mrs. Kim Benoy. So thank you so much, Kim, for being here with me today.
Thanks for having me, Lisa. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Yeah, my pleasure. I touched a little bit on your story, but is there anything else that you'd like to add to kind of introduce yourself to my listeners?
Oh gosh. Well, yeah, that pretty much it's hard to encompass your whole life into just a few sentences, but I just would say, yeah, I'm a Midwest girl and I kind of woke up in midlife and decided that life's too short to not be happy. And I want other women especially, to know that, they can do what they want to do now. They have time.
Yeah, and there's no rules. I think about
No.
um I had my big job and lots of stress and lots of hours and had prestige and got to wear the nice clothes and afford all of those things. And I gave up a lot of that stuff for I'm sitting here in very comfy, nice yoga pants and a stretchy shirt. And it's just like I feel snuggled into my clothes. And I look at my wardrobe now and it's like, wow, there's a time where I wouldn't have been caught dead in that. There was a time in my
Uh-huh.
life where I didn't even own tennis shoes. There was one pair in my gym bag and I wouldn't wear them anywhere else because no way, I wouldn't be seen in them. And I think I have a dozen pair of tennis shoes in the front seat of my car, which is my shoe closet now because that's how I'm getting around town. But yeah, like midlife changes because we get the badge of, hey, in my case, I got the 50-year-old badge that said,
Mhm.
you now have official wisdom. You can make your own decisions. You don't have to play by anybody else's rules. So let's just go for it.
Right,
So
right.
obviously I'm in midlife or maybe just a little past. I don't know how we define that, what that age range is, but I'm calling it
Yeah.
midlife.
Yeah.
I'm curious what inspired you? Like there had to have been something you said, oh yeah, I reached a certain age, but I bet there was more to that. What inspired you to start your Midlife with Courage podcast and start to communicate your experiences with women and listen to them and invite them to share their stories?
Yeah. I get this is asked of me a lot, and there's really not one thing that kind of triggered it. It was kind of like a mixture of things. Um, Growing up, I was the oldest of four kids, so I was the responsible one. I had to babysit and all that good stuff, and I was a good kid. I did what I was told. And then I, did all the traditional things, went to college, got married, became a nurse. And as a nurse, when I started, I know it's not like this now, but we followed the doctor's orders and we did what we were supposed to do according to them. That's totally changed now, thank goodness. But that was kind of at the back of my mind. And then I kind of woke up. I kind of decided at one point where I was kind of realizing healthcare wasn't something that I didn't like how it was. I still don't really like how it is, but I knew there was something we should do different. We should be focusing on health rather than trying to fix problems that we could have avoided. Um, so
Healthcare
essential
versus
oils,
sick care. I'm 100% with you.
gotcha. You know what I'm talking about. Preaching choir. Um,
Yeah.
so um, I kind of was introduced to essential oils and in their therapeutic benefits and what they can do for us. And that really cemented that, there's other things we can do besides taking medication. And I'm not bashing medication. It's necessary for many people. And yes, it's great. However, all this was kind of going on. And I kind of got to that over 40 age and realizing, life is short. If you're not happy, do something about it.
Yeah.
And just that concept of, you know, I reached a point where my kids were out of the house and I'm looking around and like, you know what? I have more time that I can do things for myself. And it was just like a liberating experience. So, um, so I'm like, wow, now what can I do? It's like, oh, here I am world. Okay, now what do I want to do? And like, I don't know. And I had gone to a business kind of conference, and the speaker there said, whatever you're really passionate about, put that into your business, and your business will thrive. Okay, great. So I just think about it. Well, what do I like to do? And I realized I love to get up in front of people and talk. And at the time was COVID, and we couldn't get up in front of
Mm.
people and talk. So my daughter had a podcast, and I thought, oh, I can do a podcast. And it was just one of those things where, in your gut, that's what you're supposed to do. It's just like, this is it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
had that too. Yeah.
But
It's this,
we have a message too. I think that's the other part
yeah.
of it is I felt like, wow, I've been in business for 40 years. I know you can't really tell. I'm
No,
totally
you can't.
cheating. I have a little improvement on my Zoom to take out some of my wrinkles, but 40 years and like there's stuff that people who are just launching their business need to know. Don't make
Right.
these mistakes. Don't do what I did. And I
Yep.
felt compelled. So when you say that, I totally
Yes.
get what you're saying. It's like you just know it. You feel this desire. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Sorry, I
just,
kind of cut you off. I got excited
no,
about
that's
that. It's like you're
great.
resonating with me.
Yay. Yay. No, because it's just like this. Yep. This is it. It's like a guttural thing almost. And
Yeah.
so I had this friend that kind of does not really business consulting, but kind of a little helper. And so I told her, for 3 months, in 3 months, I want to have at least one episode ready to go. And so she helped me research and do all this stuff. Well, in that 3 months, I had two episodes. One was already out and the other one was on its way. So it was just like validation, like, yep, this is what you need to do, you
Yeah. And
know?
once it starts going, it starts rolling. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And then
Yeah.
whoa, amazing.
Do you have I think of myself like some of the guests that I've had on my show, and some of them kind of really stand out. Is there a memorable story from one of your episodes that kind of resonates with you or your audience, or, just give us the flavor of the conversation, maybe?
Gosh, Um, there's so many that it's hard to pick like just one or two
Yeah.
because every woman has an amazing story and they might not know it, but I love it when, someone will, we call it making a pitch to be on my show, and they're usually pitching like a service or, a book or something.
Yeah.
And I always go, okay, so what's your story? How did you get
Yeah.
to do this? Like, so I love deep, digging into that.
Yeah.
But my most memorable is probably a lady that I had on last year named Jessica Peterson, and she is from my area, and I had always thought that I would love to have her. A tragic, horrible story. Her three children were murdered, essentially, and they were. And anyway, the strength that she has to just keep going. Um, to me, I mean, that's like far side of the spectrum strength, but there's women who every day do things that are amazing and nobody hears about them, but
Right.
they are wonderful. And so those are the women I like to also, those are the ones I like to show and include and share with the world.
Well, and I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
didn't live far from where that happened. I was in the same
Right.
neighborhood. Hmm.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It just, but what she's, taking that horrible thing that happened to her and just turning it around and trying to be the light for others and motivate others and inspire others. Like if I can be a little part of helping her do that, I'm in, just
And it's
amazing.
surviving. It's,
Yeah.
midlife. We do get wisdom. I joke about that and saying that we get the badge of wisdom at a certain age.
Hmm.
But it's those trials. That's what the badge of wisdom comes from, is the experiences that we go
Right.
through and how we go through them and we don't get stuck in them, how we become survivors of life. Because life isn't easy for any of
Right.
us. We are never going to get through this smooth sailing. It's just, that's not what it's
No.
designed for. Iron
Yeah.
sharpens iron. We need to be able to learn from those lessons. And so us
Yeah.
getting to hold space for people in the form of a podcast and be the voice of encouragement, the voice of inspiration, is just, it's an honor and a blessing to be able to do that. So thank you for sharing that.
Yes. Totally agree.
How do you define courage. Like that's an issue. When I was trying to come up with the name of my podcast, I went through so many different things and I couldn't pick one. So that's why I went with the acronym, because it's like
Yeah.
it's all of these pillars. And usually there's two pillars, but no, I have five pillars that kind of resonate for me. And
Yeah,
even
I
when
love
I do
that.
keynote speeches and stuff, it's like, okay, I have these three, or I have these four, I have these, and I use five a lot because I have five fingers and it's easy for me to remember my outline using my five fingers. So,
Yep.
but courage, that's a really bold word
Mhm,
to step forward into and invite people into that space. So,
mhm.
how do you define it, and why is that important to you? That word courage.
Um, Courage, I think when we talk about courage and when I started talking about courage way back when I started this, um, courage can be many different things. It can be something really big, or it can be something that doesn't seem quite so big. It could be, you know, I worked in one profession for 40 years and now I'm going to do something else. I want to try it. Hello, Miss Lisa. um, or, I was a nurse for 27 years and I'm done. I want to be done. And even though that wasn't what people would have expected me to do, I did it anyway.
Yeah.
So courage to me is just doing something that maybe is a little unexpected, but it's going to benefit you or someone else in ways that you don't even know yet. It's just the intuition. Like, I know this is what I should do, and I'm going to just do it. Even if a million people are telling me you can't or you shouldn't, or even that little voice in my head is saying, I don't know, I don't know. And just do it anyway and see what happens.
Kind of
It's
following
very,
your heart's desire. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Listen to that intuition and just, go for it. You know, when you get to be in midlife, you kind of think, what's the worst that's going to happen? Like someone's going to tell me no.
Yeah.
Okay.
That hasn't happened before.
Yeah, exactly. Like, you can't do that. Yeah, watch me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's almost fuel for the fire at some point.
Yeah.
It flips the switch rather than it being something that stops you. It's almost something that starts to fuel you. I think for me, another component or part of courage is bravery. It's
Mhm.
the willingness to listen to your intuition, listen to the guidance that you're getting, whether it's from, for me, it's God oftentimes,
Mhm.
and just trust, like bravery and trust, having that
Yes.
trust that all things are working for my good. If I have this desire, if I have this inclination, do some research. Don't just dive off the diving board and not know if there's water in the pool, but
Right.
do a little bit of research and pursue it, because when something comes upon your heart, it's there for a reason. And
Right.
so I love that word.
Yeah.
You know,
And I like, since you brought up God, I'm glad you did.
yeah,
Years ago, of course, I heard, I'm the daughter of a king, you know,
yeah,
and that's like, oh, wow, and that gives me strength too. Like, I can do anything, because he's on my
yeah, we
side.
are.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Uh-huh. What
So that
are some of
helps.
the common challenges that women over 40 face, and
Oh,
how do we overcome them? Let's knock off of a few that people might be experiencing, and just have a little bit of dialogue around that, if you don't mind.
yeah, for sure. The one thing that comes to my mind is, like, this is gonna sound crazy probably, but hormones, you know?
I know, I'm battling.
I know, we all know. And the things that the changes and the fluctuations and everything
Like
that
puberty
they
round two.
exactly on steroids. I mean, it's crazy, but nobody ever talked to me about it, when I was younger. Why would they? And I never, I know my mom went through stuff, but I didn't, she didn't tell me about it. And so just hormones kind of knocks us for a loop, I think, when we get to be this age. And I know a lot of women just get dismissed. Well, it's just how it is. There's nothing
Yeah.
you can do about it, which is a lie, ladies. There are
It's a
lots of things you
lie.
can do.
Yes. If you are
Um,
experiencing that, please
so
reach out. Yeah.
yes, yes, yeah, don't suffer. You don't have to. There's many things you can do. But the other thing too is, and hopefully this is changing, but if you, I feel like women aren't really heard until they really make a scene almost. I mean, we go through, if we're traditional, we take care of other people. I was married, I have kids, I took care of my kids. You took care of your parents, and then you get to be like, okay, now what's my purpose? And I think trying to find that purpose, and when you kind of step out and find something or you start doing something, people kind of look at you funny, like, why are you doing that? You're supposed to be quiet, you're supposed to just, kind of go away almost. And I hate that because that's not what I want to do. And that's not what we should do, but I think traditionally that's kind of what we've been told, that we just kind of step off to the side and you just support everybody else and that's it. And that's not true either. That's a lie too. So,
Mm.
so I
But it's
think,
culturally, some of us came through a time when that's what the norm was, and
yeah,
that was the expectation for us. And now we don't. We get
right.
to make our own decisions. We get to make up our own mind. I'm full of cliches. I always love those quotes. What is the mess that becomes your message? And for me,
Uh,
that is, it sounds corny and cheesy. And, I don't know, some people may not like the way that I state that, but the mess that becomes our message, it helps other people so that they don't have to go through the same mess. They can have different
right.
experiences. When we get out there and speak and share what's going on, when we talk about our hormones, when we talk about our hot flashes, and that the belly bloat that happens and all of those things that your body's going through, like getting into community with people who you can share this with, they
Yes.
find solutions. There are people out there that are finding solutions. There's so many books and podcasts and supplements and just a lot of different things to help support us going through the challenges of life.
Hmm.
And I think that's one of the things that your podcast really represents, is like, we can have these conversations, we can open up the
Hmm.
dialogue and find solutions to go through this time of empty nest syndrome, when your kids are going out, like off and doing their own thing. And, they were such an integral part of your life and your purpose. Now what? Like, they're
Yeah.
gone, and the house is done, the house is fixed, maybe the house is paid for some folks. It's like,
Yeah.
now what? Oh, I'm supposed to travel, but yet my husband's still working or doesn't want to travel, or we don't have the same interests. Like,
Hmm.
how do we bring all those things together and still find that joy and that purpose in our lives and become valued?
Hmm.
Any thoughts on that?
Well, I will share with you, I do essential oils. Like you said, I am an aromatherapist. And one of the first, yay, one of the first, you do markets and you take your products and you sell them. And one of the very first ones that I did was actually with our friend Catherine. Um, it was all women. And I, usually when you go to like a little event when you're selling things, there's a little competition going on, if someone has similar products or whatever. And for some reason, this event was so supportive. Like, I don't know the right word to use, but all the women were just so nice to each other and so supportive. And yeah, we were mostly, with women over 40, which is wonderful. But it gave me this feeling like, we just need to look at each other and help each other out. We're all going kind of along the same path. We just have little different boats that we're in, you know. And you're right, like we have to help each other. And I was doing my podcast at that time, but that made me kind of solidify this is the message that, you know, you get when you're young women, everybody's kind of catty to each other and we're competing, but we're all in the same boat. We're all in the same path. And like I said, just are in little different boats. We have little different journeys, but if we just work together and support each other, the world is so much better. It gives you that touchy feely feeling,
Yeah.
kind of.
I think it's community too. It's like, as we
Yeah.
get older, we want to be in community with other people, other women. And when we're younger,
Yeah.
we're like trying to climb the mountain, become king of the mountain. We're trying to find our place,
Hmm.
identify our own individuality, like the lotus flower coming out. Like, when you're younger, it's like that lotus flower it's trying to burst through, that plant that's trying to burst through and come out. And so I
Yeah.
totally understand like the mindset around that and the behavior behind it. But there was this transition, this shift into community, where I don't want to go alone anymore. I want to work with other
Yeah.
women. I want to bring a group of us together and all succeed together. And I want to build a team and have, I have regular accountability calls where we get on, we all may be working our own businesses, but we're doing it together. We're in the same space on Zoom. So it's
Yeah.
it's that community. That's what
Yeah.
what I'm hearing you say. That's what's
Hmm.
resonating. with me. Do you have any practical tips for folks to rediscover their passion or purpose, or even
Uh,
discover a new dream to pursue?
yeah. You know, if if something, we always say, well, this crossed my mind, or I just had this fleeting moment of something. Follow that. Ask questions like, why did I think about that? Is that something I'd like to do? Let me find out about that. Let me look into that.
Yeah.
If maybe you've always wanted to paint and you've never picked up a paintbrush in your life, but it kind of hit you like one day. Well, go to
Yeah.
YouTube. I've had quite a few podcast guests who taught themselves to paint like into their 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, just, if it comes into your mind, it's probably something that you do want to do. So
Yeah.
try it. And if it's like you try it and you're like, no, that wasn't it. Oh well, you tried
Yeah.
it. So I think, yeah, if something, I there's always a reason for those little thoughts that come in that, of new things. Yeah. So maybe I don't know. There's so many examples that people could do, but yeah, just kind of get curious, do your research and say,
Be
I wonder
curious
what
and
that would be like.
pursue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Try
Curious
it.
and pursue.
Just try it. Yeah.
Uh, what about like networking or getting into community? I kind of mentioned that. I know I
Mhm.
have a wellness community. We've been meeting for 4 years now. I think it is. I think we went over the 4 year mark. Every Saturday
Wow.
morning, 8 a.m. Central Time. We
Nice.
talk about wellness, health and wellness, and it's 45 minutes, and it's by donation, so anybody can join. And it's been an amazing way for me to be accountable to my own health, where I have to show up and coach.
Love
I have
it.
to research subjects, but it causes me to actually be better at what I do and
Hmm.
stay in the wellness field. And so I
Hmm.
think we can create our own communities, or we can find a community that we can be a part of. Are you involved in any type of networking community or creation of that? How is that part of your life?
Not yet, but I would like to join yours as well. So,
Beautiful.
because I love that. Yeah, one of the things I'm working on is my own health this year. So, yeah, but I am kind of in the process of creating a community on my website, um,
Okay.
because I know eh, social media, I kind of call it a necessary evil. I kind of need it for my business, but I don't enjoy it. So
Yeah.
I'm trying to kind of do some of my own community type things on my website. I have a little oils video thing, but I wanted to create like a little kind of like what you're saying, like I can live stream into it certain times, or I can just put some information in there and just have people kind of come as a safe place to kind of throw ideas off of each other and that kind of
Get
thing. So
support, yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah,
have resources available, trusted
yeah,
resources, because there's
yeah.
plenty of resources in the world. It's the
Mhm.
trusted resources that we want to pursue.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
yeah.
How has your own journey influenced the way that you're approaching maybe your podcast and the conversations that you're having? Like, is there something from your own journey that has influenced it in any way?
Um, I think just like I said before, when I kind of used to follow the traditional what I was supposed to do, and I decided
Yeah.
no, I'm not doing that anymore.
Okay.
Just being more open to things that happen, like that I see that I'm like interested in. You know, a lot of times when I find a guest, I kind of look for guests who maybe are going through something that I've recently experienced or I'm going to, or
Yeah.
kind of similar. Um, just to see like, I went through something, so I think other people have too, of course. And so here's this guest who can talk about it as well. And then it's easier to relate to them too when we have a conversation because, we've got common ground and stuff. But yeah, I think part of being a podcaster and sharing stories like this, the way I do, is people want to know me too. And so it's a great way of kind of sharing, yeah, I'm in this boat too. I've got the belly fat all of a sudden, or, the brain fog. I thought I was going crazy. And, people want to know that too, that I'm not just sitting here telling them, you need to do this and this and this, but I'm going through this too. So let's talk about it together type thing,
Yeah.
if that
Is
answers your
there any
question.
specific advice that you'd give to women who feel stuck or unsure of the next steps to navigate midlife?
I would say so I love to write, so I love to journal, and
Mm.
it helps me to just put everything out on paper and then look at it and kind of, just kind of evaluate. I use my essential oils all the time. I had one right before we started here today just to, for calming purposes, but just take time by yourself, do your journaling. If you meditate, that's a great way as well to just kind of get in touch, shut out everything else that's going on around you and just, be by yourself for a little bit, connect with God or universe or whatever that is in your life, and just kind of take the time. It's something it take time to do this because it's not going to be like automatic. Like, oh, one day is there a switch flips and you know what you need to do, but focus on what you really are feeling and wanting, and however that looks, that's your next step. Like, okay, now how do I go through that? What do I do next? Okay.
Yeah. I just did that this weekend. It's interesting that you brought that up. The light bulbs are flashing in my brain. I
Yay.
had a guest on probably a month, maybe two ago, and her name is Lisa Schreck, and she's a mind power coach. And I had
Mhm.
mentioned that both my folks have passed this year. My mom just a few months ago, and I'm having a hard time re-engaging, like doing business, because you're taking care of the estate, you're taking care of the house, you're taking care of all the medical stuff and the arrangements and celebration of life and all of these other things. The last thing that I want to do is work. And
Right.
so, but I know that I'm not of an age that I can retire. So I have to work. If there's no income coming in, there's like, hey, where's the food coming from? And if I
Right.
want to travel the country or travel the world for the next 12 to 18 months, I need to have revenue. And so she had reached out. My birthday was last Thursday, and she had reached out and said, I want to gift you a mind power session just for fun. We haven't
Oh,
worked together, and it was such an honor to be on your podcast. And so I did that yesterday with her, last night, in fact.
nice.
But over the weekend, she had given me an assignment, and it was to write down 100 things that you dream, desire, would love to accomplish or do or experience. And so I had a couple of days to do it. She said, just leave a notebook down. And when you think of something, write it down. And so it started, of course, with travel, because it's always travel first for me, and all the places that I wanted to go. And it was like, yeah, I'm going to put that as like 5 things, even though there was a whole lot more than 5 places. I thought, let's not make the whole list of 100 of those. But then I started getting into, how do I want to increase revenue? How do I want to show up in the world? Who do I want to affect? Who do I want to inspire? Who do I want to impact? And it was really interesting, some of the stuff that came up as I was writing things down. And I got to the 100, and then I went to question number 2, and that was pick out 10. So I used a highlighter and I picked out 10 things that resonated. And then from the 10, you go, what are the 3 that you're going to do this month? And it was really
Ah,
interesting because looking for those 10 different things had to stack up. Like, if I want to reach this residual goal income, it's not about the goal. That's not what I'm going to do this month. I have to do the steps to get to
mhm,
that goal,
mhm,
and then the
mhm.
goal will happen. So when you look at it through those eyes, all of those things can be accomplished by just a few steps, like narrowing it down to 3 different areas. The 3 things that I'm doing in the next 30 days can have a trickle down effect and affect, 15 or 20 of those items on my list. So I love that when you say start journaling, get into a space where you can explore your dreams and desires, put them on paper, and then find people in your
Right.
world, in your life, that can help you to create that. Pull those resources together. We all have friends and family, but they may not be the people to talk about, because sometimes with their best, even with their best intentions, friends and family can derail us from our
Right.
dreams and desires. And
Right.
so, listen to Kim's podcast, get somewhere into a community where you get supported on exploring these ideas. I want to
Yeah.
write a book, a memoir about my experience taking care of my mom and dad full time as their caregiver, both of them together, and then losing them both so close together. Um, but I don't necessarily have to publish it. But I think that the healing process of writing that memoir for me would be amazing. Yet there could be tidbits in there that will help a lot of people as the country transitions, and we have all of our baby boomers who are moving on to the next life, and
Yeah.
finishing up this one. There may be something in that, but I have this on my heart that I want to write this. So, like, I'm so in my head about it, I don't know how to
Mhm.
write. I've never done that. I joined a group. I joined a writers group, and they're teaching me how to,
Okay.
like, write, like come up with a plan and structure maybe an outline, but it's very loose. So,
Yeah.
whatever it is for you listeners, whatever it is for you that would inspire you to tackle midlife with joy and excitement and enthusiasm, go for it. There's
Yeah.
no rules. That's my final thoughts on this, Kim. I'm going to let you
Yeah.
have the mic and kind of what explodes in your brain when we're talking about this? How do you want to inspire the listeners today?
Oh, I would just, you know, I know it's a slogan and I do cliches too, but just go for it. If there's something on your heart or your mind, don't listen to the negative telling you you can't. Just try it. Just do it. Listen to podcasts. If you love music, grab your music. Music is really inspiring to me, and just don't let what everyone else says about you affect what you do. You have your own power and you need to use it. So
If you
go
need to
for
be a
it.
secret agent for a while, be a secret agent. Don't tell anybody.
Yes. Yeah. Don't tell anybody. Yeah. Yeah. That's actually a really good one. I tend to tell people right away and then I shouldn't. Like, no,
Yeah.
no, just keep my mouth shut for a little bit.
Hold it back just a
Yeah.
little bit, explore
Yeah.
it, find out more
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. What would
What are
that
your
look
hopes
like?
and dreams? What are your hopes and dreams for the future of your podcast, Midlife with Courage?
Oh my
Eh,
gosh. My hopes and dreams. I would love to see, of course, it be more visible. You as a podcaster, we were talking about this earlier. We want more people to listen. And what that looks like for me is just being more known. I want to be a resource for women. I want them to, if something's happening, oh, you know what, I'm going to go listen to that podcast that Kim does, that Midlife with Courage, and be inspired by her. So, I would love that. And, practically, if I could get some sponsors or that kind of thing with it, that would be wonderful. But I know the message that I'm sharing is important to people, and that's good enough. I know I'm serving women and that's my purpose. So whatever that looks like is great.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like I said, it's an honor and a blessing to get to hold the space in a podcast and have these conversations,
Mhm.
invite women in to share their stories. And I think
Yeah.
we're both really on very similar journeys.
Yeah.
Mine might be a little bit more geared towards business and taking care of
Mhm.
yourself versus, those things that we're experiencing midlife. But
Yeah.
the idea is the same. People who do podcasting, there's not a lot of money in it for most of us, and we do it
Nope.
from the heart, and we do
Yep.
it because we believe that there's a message out there that somebody needs to hear, and it lifts up
Mhm.
and it inspires and brings joy to people's lives. So keep
Yeah.
doing what you're doing. I
You
love the
too.
message. Yeah, thank you. And
Yeah.
folks, for you listeners, thank you so much for joining us today. Again, Kim's podcast is called Midlife with Courage. Where can we find you, Kim?
You can find me anywhere. The
Okay.
podcast is on Apple, Spotify, all the platforms. It's also on my website. If they go to midlifewithcourage.com, they can find it there along with a whole bunch of other fun things. And of course, I'm on Facebook. If you put in Midlife with Courage, you're going to find me wherever I am.
Beautiful, beautiful. That's
Yeah.
great. So you are getting known. The brand is starting to develop. It's
Yay.
out there. Yeah, yeah. First steps. All
Yep.
right. If you, so we're going to wrap this up. If you could use a bit of advice on how to start or expand your business using social media, let's discuss your business today. Just go over to my website. That's lisamosby.com, and it's MOSBEY.com, where you can book 30 minutes and we can talk about what you're doing to grow your business. How do we refine your message? What are we doing on social media, and how I can support you in doing that? So hope you take advantage of that. Otherwise, if that's moving smoothly, just come on back, listen to the podcast, share it with a friend, and we'll be here next week with a new topic and a new guest. So come on back. Thanks, everybody.